See the process of making ancient fish knives in Taiwan. Finally understood. Why Taiwan's handmade iron knives? It can be ranked in the world knife ranking. Even the broken sword contest has his extraordinary presence. The water supercar is in front of him. It's like a piece of tofu. Let's explore now. Real fish knife. How was it made? This is Dongliao Township, Pingdong, Taiwan, China, a century-old shop passed down through 3 generations. The first step in making a tuna knife. First, take out an alloy steel plate. Use a tape measure to mark the exact length you need. Then put it into the furnace for continuous heating. The burning temperature must be strictly controlled. Only when the temperature reaches 900 degrees Celsius. Workers will slowly take it out. Clean up the surface residue in time. Now we enter the second step of forging. Tons of air hammer. Crackling like raindrops, hammering hard. The steel plate soon underwent visible changes. Then move to the front. Then use a small hammer to hammer both sides of the steel plate while it is still hot, so that the extra edges can be recalled faster. This step, you can only rely on manual tapping little by little. After the steel plate cools down, the worker drew another thin line at one end. And constantly measure with a ruler. This shows the importance of this location. Then the most amazing step came. The worker pressed down the switch blade. A clear knife tip was created. If this is placed in the neighboring country, this is the location. They can't complete it without 3 or 5 steps. And our master from Taiwan. This step alone can create the tip of the knife. Looks pretty sharp. Now I understand how a store can survive for 100 years. There's definitely a reason for this. At this time, the steel plate has returned to normal temperature, the master's hammer. There's no intention of stopping. The reason why I keep beating. Mainly for fine-tuning the blade. Up and down. Then use your eyes to carefully observe the subtle changes of the fish knife. This rhythmic hammering. It also makes the boring process of breaking the knife become more distinctive. At this point, the basic shape of the tool has been. Now let's end it. Let's get ready to move on to the next step. The master started the cutting machine. Press down hard and dazzling sparks will appear. The steel plate was quickly split in 2. Then continue heating. Then insert one side of the fish knife into under the broken. Repeated hammering, the handle was made like this. The forging process also requires continuous rotation. This makes the force at each position more evenly distributed. Below is the detailed picture of the fish knife. Rough visible texture. It's hard to associate it with a knife. But what really transformed him was, the next step is blade polishing. The general shape of a knife can basically be made. But whether it is sharp or not is a test of technique. This is not just a random grind on the grinding wheel. Can cut iron like mud. Now let's look at the knife that is said to last for 10 years. How is it polished? First, hold the fish knife on both sides. The blade. That is, grind the 1/3 width first. Then grind the tip of the knife repeatedly at the same angle. After a long period of grinding, the blade also emits an unusually dazzling light. Then pick up the ruler beside you. Compare the blade horizontally from top to bottom. The long ruler was also used as a level by the master craftsman. It's considered making the best use of it. Then make the blade fascia. Now let's take a look at the mentality of this fish knife. The old master's frown that had been on his face for a day finally relaxed. Looks very happy with this knife. Then pick up the hammer beside. Prepare to stamp the blade with a unique mark. If we move the 3 dots a little bit, a big dipper becomes. Put it in the furnace and start heating the handle. Then insert the handle into the wood. The inner hole is rounded by friction inside the plate. This step directly maximizes the effect. Then he began to burn the blade with emerald fire. This is also the case in metal processing, an essential and important link. When the blade is pulled out of the furnace, insert quickly into the oil barrel. The flames instantly lit up the whole house. Suehua is mainly used to improve the defects of steel structure. The martensitic transformation. We will get resilience later. A fish knife with full strength. If there is no green fire, the blade will become brittle. It will break apart after a few times. Then knock the wooden handle into it. A cool-looking fish knife is now formed. But to make it sharp, cutting iron like mud. The following step is obviously indispensable. I saw the master holding the blade, grinding on the water grinding disc. In a moment, the fish knife was sharpened to a very sharp edge. Use clean water to remove the surface dirt. Dyeing of tuna knife. This blacksmith shop has his own secret method. He has to go through 3 grindings in total. From coarse to fine, each time you grind it, it changes. Make the knife pattern more delicate. After tens of minutes of grinding, the fish knife has already emitted a mirror-like shine. This is hard to imagine. His predecessor was actually a rusty steel plate. Let's try the effect of this fish knife. Old man holding newspaper. A gentle stroke of the right hand. The newspaper was split in 2. Can you imagine how sharp it is? It is no exaggeration to say that he can cut iron like mud. Now let's try the effect of cutting fish. Just fry it once. The tuna was cut open. Such a sharp tuna knife. How much do you think it would cost to buy it?